The third pick of the second round, the Charlotte Hornets select Sion James out of Duke. To me, this signals the Hornets really trying to rebuild their culture, or I don't even know if you can call it a rebuild. Like, can you rebuild what you never had? They're trying to institute something with guys who are a little bit safer, less swings for the fences, and good locker room guys who they can surround both LaMelo and Brandon Miller with. I think that's one of the best traits about Sion, and I don't even mean that negatively. Like the off court, the intangibles, everything you hear about this kid from coaches, teammates, players, it's all raving about what a good teammate he is. And then on court as well, he can fill a variety of roles. To me, I still feel like this is a little bit too high for him. But Dion, I know you loved this Duke team this past year. Why don't you share what the Hornets can expect out of Sion James and how you think he fits in Charlotte?
I think he very similarly to Con Knipple signals a bit of a seriousness. That's kind of like how I framed
Hmm.
the con pick. We're done taking guys that like might work, might not work. We're going to take you based on what you did in college. And if you can just replicate that in the NBA, like we're good with it, if that makes sense. And I think that's a good turn for the Hornets because I think the Hornets have long taken like I don't know how to say his name Tijuan Saloon.
Yeah, Tijon Salon. Let's
Yeah, him.
that. Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's not gonna. It just no one actually believes that's gonna work, right? But they're swinging for the fences, and I think Sion James is a guy that like you're not getting a home run with, but like if he can hit a single or a double, that's a really productive NBA player. 41% from three last year, never really makes a mistake.
Hmm.
You're never like, oh, he didn't swing it, Like if Tyrese Proctor's open, he would rather Proctor takes the shot. I think that's a very important aspect of playing NBA basketball. Obviously, that's not going to be the case in the NBA, but if LaMelo or Brandon Miller are open, Sion's going to pass it to them, or Sion, excuse me, is going to pass it to them, and that's very important because you want your best players taking the shots when they're open, not like your role players. So I think he kind of understands what it means to play a role, and he's a hustler and he plays great defense. And I think when you factor all those things, then you typically have a longer NBA career than the role players who are a little bit about themselves.
Yeah, I think that's really well said, and even more so from a fit perspective. This Hornets perimeter unit is pretty desolate. Like after you get past Brandon Miller, LaMelo, I know Trey Mann had some nice flashes. All three of those guys finished the year injured. I mean, I think he should be in theory, not even in theory, he might immediately be an upgrade over Josh Green. I think the Hornets fans I know are right now happy they don't have to watch Josh Green playing big minutes anymore. And you,
Really?
yeah, that's like I was a little surprised by that because I mean I'm not gonna act like I watched a ton of Hornets this past year, but I've always liked Josh Green as a player since his days at Arizona, but I know he's been pretty up and down and a lot more down than up since being in the NBA. But regardless with Sion, what he can bring on the court, what you mentioned in terms of the 41% from three is huge. Like anecdotally speaking, it seemed like he never missed a catch and shoot jumper. Anytime there was a kick out to him, he knocked it down. And I believe he shot 38% last year at Tulane, 36% the year before. So he's proven in that it wasn't a one off here. Beyond that, he was in the 90th percentile of field goal attempts at the rim this year for his position. He's at the 82nd percentile in defensive rebounding rate for his position. There is a lot to love just about what he can do in terms of being a glue guy and filling a variety of roles. Now, my one critique, pushback, whatever you want to call it, for taking him at 33, I do have some hesitancies that some of those rebounding, the athleticism traits, or what he can do around the basket, they might not translate as well when he doesn't have the size advantage over every guard he's playing against. Because I watched it night in, night out. No ACC teams had a guard that could match up with him from a physicality and strength perspective. They just didn't. He was an outlier in that sense in the college game. The NBA, there's going to be a lot more length and athleticism thrown at you. And I guess I know he ran point at spurts for Duke. So I don't, I think he's going to give you good positional size regardless. But at the same time, like I just don't know if the strength and athleticism is a super smooth transition where it's like, oh, he's great at that right away.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be his role in the league anyway. Like, I really don't think he's going to be like, I don't think I see Sion ever playing over 10 minutes a game on a team. I think a large portion of his role is going to be like very sporadic minutes, high energy guy. Like, don't know that this is necessarily going to happen on the Hornets, but let's say the Hornets are like contenders one day. That doesn't feel realistic, but like maybe. He feels like the guy like in the playoffs. You go down 12 at the crib and you're like, yo, let's bring Sion in. He hits a massive three. The crowd gets into it.
Mhm.
LaMelo gets going. You immediately yank Sion. And you're like, yo, that was fun. Really glad you were out there for a little bit. But it's time to like get the dogs back in the game. He feels like one of those players. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Those guys have very long NBA careers. I mean, across the back of the road, Theo Pinson played for a few years doing something similar. So I mean, I think it's one of those situations where I think he has the ability to play for a long time. I don't think it's going to be in a role where like, as a Duke fan, like our baby Blue Devils are getting picked at a high rate. I don't think Sion's going to be one that we're like following for a long time. Like
Mhm.
he'll be in the league, but we're not checking in on his stats.
There's not the Sion Muse. Actually, there probably will be. I feel like there's a weird contingent of online Hornets fans that will create that account for the Sion Muse. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And on one end, I'm going to say this knowing it's ridiculous to compare the Hornets to the Thunder. They're just eons and eons away from OKC as a franchise. But what you're getting at with that type of player who is a 10-minute per game guy, but is ready for the moment when his number is called, it's like what Aaron Wiggins did in the playoffs this year, what he did in the finals. You know, he can have those scoring outputs. Granted, will that happen on Charlotte? TBD. You
Yeah,
know that you got to get to the playoffs first before you have a playoff moment. And to get to the playoffs first, you got to win more than they win what, like 17 games this past year? I feel like it was really low.
I
Maybe
don't
they
know.
got to 21. Maybe they
17
cracked
sounds
20.
high.
Yeah, there needs to be some strides made on that end, but at least the pick is there in theory. So good pick, Hornets. Not It's just a really tough guy to critique.